Good evening, YouTube. So, I'm Lloyd De Jongh, for those who don't know my name, and for those who do, hello and welcome back. So yeah, today I am back with the author Paul Sutliff, and I am very grateful for Paul. He is the one person who's taken the effort to read The Reliance of the Traveler, learn the Sharia. Paul, I'm getting feedback.
It's not from me. I have earphones in.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, so Paul has taken the time to learn the Sharia and become very expert at it. Let me put on my headphones just in case it is on my end. So anyway, Paul, welcome back.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back. It's an honor. Now, is that better?
I've got headphones in now. Let's hear what happens.
I don't hear the feedback now.
There's definitely feedback.
Wow. Huh. So,
why? I know why. It is my fault, and I do apologize. It was entirely my fault. I had an unmuted tab, which I thought I had muted. So the fault is on me. It's not streaming. It's just, but it's feedback into my ear, not via YouTube. So sorry, guys. That was yeah. Paul, welcome back, and we're talking about the cancer of civilization, jihad, which is a very real thing. It is something being done by people who are very deeply committed, people who are incredibly well funded to the tune of billions of dollars. They're infiltrating government, judiciary. They're in the universities, and they've infected the minds of those university students, and those university students are in the streets every week in London, New York, Paris, in California, as you know. And these people are anti-Semitic, they're anti-Western, and they are dupes. Paul, take it from there, man.
It's scary, especially this past year, because this past year has been the first year that I have seen where Muslims all over the West are openly proclaiming their love of killing, their love of jihad. And they're doing this openly in mosques and putting it out on TV. I mean, on they're putting it on the YouTube. It's every place. I'm just kind of mind numbed how much they have done, and that's only because of what happened on October 7th. They felt free to express their love of hate, their love of killing, and I don't have anything else to say about that except it's shocking. No matter how many times I look at it, it's shocking.
You know, Osama bin Laden said that people like the strong horse, and when 9/11 happened, that was a sign of the strength of the Muslim cause of the jihad. So he said people would back the strong horse. And notice 9/11 was only the opening shot in a multi-year plan, in a multi-decade plan to implement the caliphate across the world. So it was the opening gun to a race. And I think we're seeing this plan being played out. The Muslim Brotherhood had a plan, Al Qaeda had a plan, and yeah, we're seeing this thing is ratcheting up. These people have, I mean, they're brazen now. They're bold. It's no longer, you don't hear, oh, Islam has been hijacked. Now it's no, we have a legitimate cause. We're all in it. We're all the Muslims that are jihadis. It's not just a small minority anymore. And you don't see peaceful protests against the Muslims that are causing violence. You don't see protests against Hamas. You see people praising them. So now we know the mosque is off.
Those protests do exist, only the media won't cover it. And that's, I mean, you could take a look in England. They didn't cover a lot of Tommy Robinson's stuff against Islam. They refused.
No, I mean Muslim protests. You don't see Muslim protests against Islam.
Oh, I've never seen that one. No, you see that one, let me know. I'll be out there covering it myself. I'll go grab a camera and run out. Yeah, that's just kind of, I'm waiting for that day.
Yeah.
I would like to say it happened, but we're unfortunately not seeing that. And it's not possible because Sharia sets in stone everything.
And so just remind our audience, what is civilization jihad, and perhaps we can also just review some of the slides you skipped over last time, so that we just reintroduce everyone to the topic
I was
and the
trying to
thinkers.
find that. Just a second. I was trying to find
Sure.
that. So I was trying to, and I think it's here. And I can come back. Okay. Can come back to this guy here, and we project, and I will share this just a second. I think the one slide that we can't ignore is, let me just share this one.
Sure.
Wow, they have all these warnings. All right.
Disable those. Welcome, Sean Anderson. He says anti-Christian. Yes, anti-Western, anti-Christian. And welcome, Nico. Let me show your stream. There you go. Artsy Fartsy, welcome. Hello, everyone.
So I pick on, oh boy, it's a wonderful name. With the Hijra, we have to keep remembering that this is part of their doctrine. You have to leave your country to start a war. And as much as I want to race through this topic and get into another one, I think you have to realize that no matter where you live, this is happening. Muslims are coming to your country not because they want something new, better, or more money. They're coming there because the way to commit an act of jihad is not to do that in your own country. You leave your country, you go to another country, and that is the way to get to heaven, jihad. And if you listen to the Dearborn, Michigan, United States, believe it or not, they did a eulogy for Nasrallah. And they were saying he was honored by Allah to die in his jihad. Oh, they made him sound perfect. But if you think about that, I mean, Nasrallah he was hiding. And yes, he was committing acts of jihad. He was getting other people to commit acts of jihad. He was constantly traveling. And yet, what did he do? He got all these people to commit acts of jihad. 9 times out of 10, he was nowhere near where the bombs dropped. And this time, Israel dropped something on him he couldn't walk away from. The little coward hiding in the bunker. I don't know how many hundreds of feet underground. Yeah, he died like a rat, not like a jihadi.
Yep. Can you read this quote for everyone so they can understand what his intent is?
So this is the scary part that I don't think I got really into. You have to organize before you do Hijra. This is by al-Faruqi, Ismail al-Faruqi. We are here to stay. And he's saying this in London after he's been living in the United States for, about 20, he's 62, 63, he was in the United States. He says this to the audience. We are here to stay. We are here to plant Islam in this part of the world, and we must utilize everything in our power to make the word of Allah supreme. In the presence of living here, we can become ambassadors of Islam. Allah has carved out a vocation for you, a new mission, and this mission is to save the West, to save the humanity of the West by converting that humanity to Islam. We want to live henceforth as if we were mujahirs, companions of Muhammad from Makkah to Medina. And so let us invest our hijrah with this new meaning. Let us appoint ourselves as ambassadors of Islam in this country, and let us begin a program of real action. He's stating this in London in 1986. This is just, I know this has it's also in book, you'll see that there's page numbers and stuff, but this is from a speech he gave in London. It's just kind of mind-numbing.
And we let them when we go, well, they don't really mean it. He's just one of those small minority. I mean, if you think about it, the leadership are only a small minority. They control the large majority, and the small minority, the rest of the people who say, well, actually, it's not like that, they're irrelevant. what force do they have? None.
It's scary. I mean, just if you think, I think the thing that bothers me the most about the Hijra is it has to be organized. And then when I was in Europe and asking the three different intelligence units in the three different countries, Paris, I was in France, I was in Germany, and I was in Sweden, and they all said the Muslim Brotherhood was behind the massive Hijra that came in 2014 through 2015, and they would probably say they're still behind it. I don't have any doubts to that, but I was surprised their reasoning was simple: is that they are here waiting for them when they come in. It's like,
But what
wow.
is the largest voting bloc in the United Nations? A group of, I think,
It's
51
the
countries.
yeah
Yeah, the
uh,
Organization of Islamic Conference.
yes,
So 50 plus, I think it is, Islamic countries.
Islamic cooperation. Yeah, like they cooperate with anything amongst themselves except for oil prices.
But they will cooperate against the West, the enemy of, etc.
Right.
That saying as we have it.
Yes, that's exactly what it
So,
is.
yeah,
All
it's
right. The
amazing we
next.
let them get away with this.
Right. Then I have, let's see, Hijra Part 2 that I was looking at, self-imposed segregation. I mean, Islamic requirement to organize. And in the United States, we have an organization that's hitting over 1,000 campuses right now, called the Muslim Student Association. They have the Islamic Society of North America, CARE, and the other international organization they call themselves Triple IT, the International Institute of Islamic Thought. They are all over the world. This is a scary organization, and it's actually the first organization that I encountered, because they gave 500 grand to a local college that I had attended for my master's degree. This group is behind, they were friends with Al Qaeda. And when ABC wanted an interview with bin Laden, they took him straight to him. Isn't it nice to know you could find someone to take you right to the head terrorist? And this is before 9/11. So think about that. they got a trip right to him. That's after he bombed the USS Cole. Yeah. That stuff just gets me. There's probably over 100 organizations right now in the United States. Um, are you familiar with any in Europe that you can name that are Muslim Brotherhood?
There's probably bunches of them. I did some work at one point. I can't remember offhand, but I did some work for CSPI. That's Bill Warner's outfit back in the day before they threw me out the door for reasons we can get into another time. But they are heavily embedded in France. I know that. We were looking at the UK, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're in Germany. They're everywhere. They're certainly trying everywhere.
Yeah, the British they have some. It's funny because when the intelligence units are aware of these things, they don't want everybody to know it, and that's the part I don't understand. Why aren't you telling the college campuses that these groups are part of the Muslim Brotherhood, which is the parents of Al Qaeda? Well, why don't you say that? Oh, you're letting your child. So your child could. This is the big thing for me. You've got these kids. They start college at the ages of what, 17 to 19, somewhere's in that age. They're still children. I'm sorry, they're still children. They're young adults. They don't have a concept in their mind that they might need a national security clearance at some point in their life, and they're affiliating with people who will damage that for the rest of their lives. And again, they're kids. They don't have the concept, but you don't know what you'll need later on in life. And that's the stuff that really got me into this. Now, I am terrible at pronouncing this guy's name. Serja Trifkovic. We went through this, but I just want to repeat this. He said it is, talking about the Hijra, is an organized struggle to change the existing society into an Islamic society based on the Quran and the Sunnah, and make Islam, which is a code for entire life, supreme and dominant, especially in the social political spheres. That the ultimate objective is the Islamic movement shall not be realized until the struggle is made by locals, for it is only they who have the power to change the society into an Islamic society. Yet they lie to us about this.
You know, it's interesting, the word struggle. Karl Marx, had a struggle. Then there was a certain Austrian who believed that he was really a German deep down at heart, who also had his struggle. And they all seem to have these rather revolutionary ideas that involve a certain kind of struggle. And it's very interesting that they all have similar ideas. They express them a little differently, but the concept is very similar.
And they use this word struggle. When Muslims use the word struggle, they know it means jihad. All right. And they think we're stupid and we don't know that. And they're usually right.
And
Most people listening don't know.
yeah, I mean, just to show, if I can share something from my side for a moment, this is on my X account. If I may just advertise that for a moment, I do a lot of posts, and also I do bite-sized chunks of information that's relevant to Islam, and I do threads that'll be 6, 7, 8 sort of tweets or X posts that all contain a little gem of information. So, for instance, this get this in my archive. You'll find that all linked below, along with our guest's information and the links to his book or books. This is the Atlas of the Islamic Conquests. Notice it says here the periodic golden history of the Islamic conquests. Do you think they seem very proud? I thought it was the golden age of discovery, of invention. No, the golden age of killing people and stealing their stuff and invading their countries. Isn't that a little odd, Paul?
And they call that a golden age. The weird part about this is you'll have textbooks today across the world saying, well, they preserved the Alexandria Library. Who burned it down?
They took
burned
6
it
months
down?
and burned it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is from the Caliphate of Abu Bakr to the height of the Ottoman Caliphate. Notice that that's hundreds of years of conquest, of invasion, of colonization, from Central Asia to Morocco, Spain, and Central Europe, the Levant, everywhere. And these are by 2 Muslims. And they have maps. They have hundreds of maps in this book. They have hundreds of battles. And it says here, and notice this isn't how we convinced people to become Muslim. It's we conquered them. We beat them with weapons. So Islam is a colonial movement. Do not let Muslims shame you with the West's colonial history. Islam is a massive colonial movement. It has been a massive colonial empire, and it doesn't leave the culture to retain its culture. It imposes Arab culture on them, Arab names, Muslim names, and Muslim dress, and so on. So it's a colonial movement expanded through warfare that colonized Arabia, the Levant, North Africa, Europe, and Asia. And notice, the year 0 in Christianity is the birth of Christ. The year 0 in Islam is, Paul?
The year 0 in Islam to me is the funny part. It is the year the Hijra happens. It's not the year Muhammad became a prophet. It's not the year Muhammad got his first convert or had his first revelation. It's the year Muhammad becomes a political leader.
Yes, and it's the year that they move from Mecca to Medina. So the year 0 of Islam is the first Hijrah. That is interesting. So Hijrah is a form of jihad that is very, very important to Islam.
It's scary. I mean, I look at this, the fact that it's attempted to be kept secret, and this is what the State Department should be giving in-services on to every single country in the world. But no, I'm doing it because this is information that's out there and they're not doing it. That's the reason I'm doing it. That's the honest truth. I don't understand why they aren't. I can't figure it out. And you'll notice the web source is here if anybody needs that. It's pretty simple stuff. You can go to Web Archive, you can type this guy's name, and you can find this information. It's kind of mind-numbing that it's so easily out there. Maududi, he said, these aims cannot be realized so long as power and leadership in society are in the hands of the disbelieving rulers, and so long as the followers of Islam confine themselves to worship rites. So listen, they're not really there for worship. Keep thinking about that. Only when the power is in the hands of the believers and the righteous can the objectives of Islam be realized. It is therefore the primary duty of all those who aspire to please Allah to launch an organized jihad I'm just going to use the right word there. Sparing neither life nor property for this purpose. The
To
importance of
die,
securing, yeah, yeah,
or not sparing other people's lives.
yes. For the importance of securing power for the righteous. And wait. We're not talking about the average person. We're talking about just the Muslims. Securing power for the Muslims is so fundamental that in neglecting this jihad, one has no means left to please Allah. So move to another country and do everything you can to get ready for jihad.
And
That's
they
the
call
reason they're
themselves the
coming to your
righteous.
country. The righteous.
Yeah, they're the
Oh,
righteous ones. What they're doing is righteous. It's divinely ordained. And in fact, if you look at Marx, you look at the Nazis, they all have very similar claims that what they're doing is Marx used, the Nazis used the claim of, they appealed to myth of a mystical sort of calling that they're trying to revive a past history, but also scientific racism based because of Darwin. So they all have this. It's a righteous struggle, and if they have to not spare your life, then so be it.
Maududi, everyone was telling me I have to when I was doing this research, I can't ignore Maududi. The importance of him to many other Islamic scholars is incredible, and you could not ignore him. So I went back, I looked, and I started like this stuff starts opening my eyes. Why are they talking about organization? I mean, the Hijra. I mean, they don't want Muslims going to another country and saying, "Oh, I'm not allowed to do this. Oh, this is cool." No, they want people to be able to grab them and keep them together. That's the intent of organization. It's not, okay, we're going to disperse. No, it's force them to stay together so they don't become part of the society they come to. That is the intent of the organization. That's stated over and over again as one of their duties.
It
And
means it
that's
remains tribal.
yes. So this is why you have tribalism that goes to Sweden when they're actually and wherever country they're going to, and you have the riots in the streets where one group is killing the other group, and that is why. And this is again, it's the only reason it happens is because they can't stop being that way. They're not allowed to because they have to be organized in their hijra.
Right.
All right, and then I have Ali Khatani. The secret of Muslim communities, which has been able to survive across the centuries and generations, lies in one word: organization. Islam cannot survive if individual Muslims believe it is a personal affair. So, any Muslims you meet that say Islam is a personal thing, they're lying through their teeth. Wait a minute. This is a guy his book here, Muslim Minorities in the World Today. Think about it. That's the name of the book. And Islam can't survive if Muslims believe it's a personal affair. Keep
But
thinking.
doesn't that tell us that then, according to the Sharia, these major tenets like jihad are not fard al-ayn, they're fard al-kifaya, which means they're a community obligation, which means that the imams and the leaders have to keep that particular obligation going. So Islam is not
Exactly. And
about
that's
just personal obligation or personal prayer or something. It is a communal obligation to the tribe to continue with jihad.
and if you actually read Sharia and you're going through even as I laugh a lot about the Sharia on prayer because there's so much. But if you read this, it's all about getting together and it's a show of power. It's a show of strength. It's not your average purpose that you would think. It's all about power. Look at me, look at me. That's the whole intent of their prayer. Look at me, look at me. It has nothing to do with reverence. There's nothing there. There's no personal communication to a living God. I think Allah is long dead, and that's my answer to that. I mean, I will say this to the Muslims that are out there listening. Um, your Allah is so big, Israel just stomped on you. Okay, your God is so big, Israel just stomped on you. Everybody can see it. The whole world can see it. So stop telling us your God is so big. You can yell Allah Akbar, you can all you want, and we'll just watch Israel keep defending themselves and beating you up. All right, just by defending themselves. When Katani goes out and he says, when a group of Muslims is formed, the first thing they should do to keep Islam among themselves is to organize themselves on an Islamic basis. Again, this isn't about personal affairs. It's not about worship. To keep Islam alive from one generation to the other, they should establish two basic Islamic institutions, the mosque and the school. So what are they teaching here? Let's see, they're not teaching the Quran. They're teaching Sharia.
Right.
And that, I think, most Westerners don't understand. Most Muslims in the world don't know one word about Sharia except for the first surah. And they don't even understand it because they're taught it in Arabic and they just don't know what Arabic means. Scary. And then I had this still blows my mind, this section. Al-Bara. Is there an Islamic social norm of Islamic supremacy? I couldn't go on in the book without looking at this section. Islamic supremacy is so big. It's all of Islam. And I picked this book up and I was kind of surprised. I guess I hadn't really grasped how. I mean, I've heard of Islamic supremacy over and over and over again. Anybody who understands it, but this was a different twist that I hadn't even thought about. This is by Katani, and he's referring to al-Muwalat, refers to support in Islam, as Imam Shafi explained, with regards to the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad. Whomsoever I am his supporter, Ali is also his supporter. And
So al-wala al-bara, what al-bara means, you can translate it as loyalty and disavowal. So we are loyal to the Ummah, loyalty to Muhammad and Allah, loyal to the Muslims as part of the tribe, and we disavow the disbelievers. That, if you're wondering who the disbelievers are, that's you. You can also consider it as hatred and enmity versus loyalty. So loyalty and hatred, loyalty and disavowal, hatred of the non-believers. So it actively, if you look at the Aqidah of Islam or the creed of Islam, one of the rules is that they have to hate the disbelievers. They have to hate those who are non-Muslims. Can I show something that validates some of what you said? When they speak of they have to have the mosque and the school. If I can show you this is from the Islamic Circle of North America. They're a very big Muslim religious organization. They have regular annual conferences. They have tens of thousands of members. They'll meet. They'll have a weekend conference in Vegas, wherever the case might be. They'll bring thousands and thousands of people together. This is a tarbiyah guide, which is like a behavior guide or a manners guide, this is given to teenagers. Now they have ones for little kids and they have one, and so on. The Islamic Circle of North America. And I'm going to look up here. Let's have a look under Jihad. If I remember this correctly, I should find this shortly. Just doing a search for the term, because I believe they spell Jihad with 2 A's. And if I don't, I'll bring up the. Okay, so let me just use with 1 A and see. Oh, there we go. Okay. They speak of here. Take Jihad, for instance. Since some of our young people today have become very interested in it, it is an act of great devotion, right? There are 100 levels in paradise that Allah has prepared for those who engage in jihad for the cause of Allah. The distance between any 2 levels is like the distance between the sky and the earth. It is a great devotion, right? It's a great devotion. And then we've got this reference here. Now notice they have here this bullet point 111, this footnote number. Now notice Muslims like to tell us that jihad means X or jihad means Y. It states here that the word Allah used, that's for footnote 113. Let's have a quick look at 113. And it says here that, do you consider the giving of drink to the pilgrims or the maintenance of the sacred mosque equal to the service of those who believe in Allah and the last day and strive? Oh, the strive, not struggle, strive with might and main in the cause of Allah. And they explain it here Remember, this is a mainstream American organization. These are mainstream American Muslims, Sunnis. The word Allah used in Arabic is wajahada fi sabilillah, or jihad fi sabilillah, meaning jihad in the path of Allah. It is incorrect to translate the word jihad to mean striving. They literally translated it as striving in the text above. But no, it is incorrect to translate jihad to mean striving, because jihad is a legal terminology. It is a legal term under the Sharia with a specific meaning, and that is fighting in the path of Allah and the struggle therein. Fighting. Translating the word jihad to mean striving is misleading, as it gives a meaning different to the original intended meaning in the verse. This error has become a common practice. Be careful from falling into such errors.
And yet, people like me will be accused of lying when we communicate the truth on this topic. And
Believe them when they
don't want to
tell
hear
you
us.
what they mean.
When they're speaking to each other, this is the thing you have to understand. And the only way you can truly understand Islam, Lloyd and me and Usama and many others are out there explaining. But the only way you can find out what Islam really teaches is you have to look at when Muslims are speaking to each other. They think no one else is in the crowd. That's the only time you find the truth.
Yeah. Al-Walla is loyalty, and you saw Al-Bara is to hate what Allah hates. And Allah, if you're not a Muslim, Allah hates you. Yeah. So
Katani says he says the ally is the opposite of the enemy. This is important to acknowledge, as it places all non-Muslims as enemies. According to this author, al-bara in Arabic language means severance. Severance is to leave off something. It is to walk away from something or to distance oneself from it. Thus, what are the Muslims severing off? I mean, think about that. Katani refers to Quran 257, which is Allah is the ally of those who believe. He brings them out from darkness into the light, and those who disbelieve, their allies, are taghut. They take them out of the light into darkness. Those are the companions of the fire. They will abide eternally therein. And taghut is a reference to those who do not worship Allah, not non-Muslims. We, the non-Muslims, are seen as the companions of the fire. I mean, he goes on and keeps talking about separating from the disbelievers in every way. You cannot be, this is a whole push. You can't trust the non-Muslim. You can't be around the non-Muslim. He uses Quran 47:38. And if you turn away, he will exchange you for some other folk. Quran 5:51. And whoever turns towards them in an alliance is one of them. And this is where it gets interesting. He doesn't cite the full verse of Quran 5:51. It says, and whoever turns towards them in an alliance is one of them. O you who have believed, do not take the Jews and the Christians as allies. They are, in fact, allies of one another, and whoever is an ally to them among you, then indeed he is one of them. Indeed, Allah guides not the wrongdoing people. I mean, this goes, I just thought his work, I wish more people would read this. They might say, I don't think we can trust you in our country if you hold this belief structure. I mean, if you agree, now here's the catch.
That's 551,
Can
right?
you? Yeah.
Now let's have a quick look at the Murad translation. O you who disbelieve, do not take the Jews and the Nasara as administrants for yourselves. Some of them are administrants of some, and whoever of you takes them as an administrant, then surely he is from them. So if they associate with us, if they ally with us, then they are of us, and they must be separated. Surely Allah does not guide the darkening menfolk. So thou see those who in their hearts a sickness race swiftly in them, saying we are timid. So in other words, don't hold back. You need to be able to fight. And that's just the Murad translation. And I just want to show Tagut. I was busy working on something on Tagut.
Oh wow!
Oddly enough, I was
actually looking for. I would have loved to have found this back then, because I was learning all this stuff on my own was not easy, and trying to find stuff was not easy.
false gods are idols worshipped alongside or instead of God. I'm still working on this, so and the believers have to stay away from these entities, highlighting worshipping only one Allah and rejecting any form of idol worship. So so just the basic context there. I'm still busy cleaning up all of these.
And I think we run into this other thing is we in the West tend to trust others. We're very trusting, and I never really thought about how
We're a high
trusting
trust
we're.
culture, yeah.
Yeah, our whole way of relating to people is based on the concept of trust. However, Islam negates that culture. It negates the ability to trust as a whole, and that becomes problematic. I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. So you can throw up my other one here. I just started. If you stop trusting, if you get rid of a way to trust, you have a serious problem. And the truth of the matter is, it's bad. I mean, if you get to a point where you can't trust others, you can't put anything out, it destroys the whole concept of culture. And I mean, I don't know how we can live like that's just me. This is the award I put out up there. That's the award I won for the Cancer Civilization Jihad. Just had a nice photographer do a good job on this. All right. Yeah, let's see if I can get this to go. All right. So this is actually I did a lot of my own quote artwork. Put pictures on top of pictures, basically. And my question is there an Islamic social norm? And again, social norms are behaviors against telling the truth. And when you start looking at Islamic scriptures, their hadiths, their stuff, it's. I mean, now can you trust a Muslim comes to your country and says, "Yes, I will obey your laws. Yes, I will become a good citizen. Yes, I mean, after you read this section, you might get angry. I have friends who say they read my book and they just get mad. And I'm sorry, but it's all true. What I'm sharing is all true. Um, so living in Darul Harb allows Muslims to lie, and I got this from this is from volume 4, book 52, number. I think this is Bukhari, if I remember right. Narrated Abu Huraira. The Prophet said, Kosuru will be ruined, and there will be no Kosuru after him. And Caesar will surely be ruined, and there'll be no Caesar after him. And you will spend their treasures in Allah's cause. He called war is deceit. All right. Here's another piece. Allah's apostle called war is deceit. Then you go on. Next one down. You got, again, you notice it's 267, 268, 269. This is the way hadiths are supposedly written. It's the exact same thing. It gets repeated over and over again. I don't know how you can. I don't understand the justification of these all being different, but they're all saying the exact same thing, and they can be cited constantly. Allah's apostle called war is deceit. Allah's apostle called war is deceit. Wait a minute. If they're in Dar al Harb, which is not a Muslim land, you're now encouraged to deceive. This is. People have to understand this is where they start. And the word you always hear when you're talking about Muslims is dakiya. And I personally think it is the worst word we can go to. And I'll explain that. Dakiya basically means you're allowed to lie to non-Muslims in order to protect Islam or to save your own life. Lying may also be done to further Islam by deceiving others. Well, that's as far as it goes. 328 in the Quran. Let not believers take disbelievers as allies rather than believers. And whoever of you does that has nothing to do with Allah except when taking precautions against them in prudence. And Allah warns you of himself, and Allah is the final destination. Wait a minute. There's 5 different words that have to do with lying to non-Muslims. At least 5. Actually, there's more. This is the part that kills me. I think there's actually 8 at the last count that I saw. I got a slide from Adam, and I think it has 8 words. Quran 16:106. Whoever disbelieves in Allah after his belief, except for one who is forced to renounce his religion, while his heart is secure in faith by those who willingly open their breast to disbelief. Upon them is wrath from Allah, and for them is a great punishment. Really, you're going to trust people who think these things? I just don't see it. And I did want to get out just to hit me escape for a second.
I can bring it up. I have it here.
Okay. Yeah, yours is probably better. Yeah. To go to R 8.0 and that permissible lying. Oh, yeah.
So this is the Sharia that Muslims talk about all the time. Sharia for Britain, Sharia for Texas, Sharia for America. Sharia has a section on lying. Remember, this Reliance of the Traveler, links in the description, is a compendium. It's a distillation of the strongest rulings from the four schools of Sunni fiqh. And this also aligns with the Jafari school because that is recognized. That's the Jafari school from Iran, from the Shia. And lying, and you have unlawful lying.
Anton Bala real quick
Sorry?
here. He says Muslims cannot even declare himself as Muslim. He can, but he doesn't have to. He can lie about being a Muslim. And he can say he's something else. He can say he's homosexual. He can say any of these things as long as he's deceiving us for Allah's cause.
Is this true? The Battle of Lepanto happened on 7 October. Let me actually double check that. That would explain the date that they invaded Israel. Let's have a look.
I think
October 7.
That's correct.
October 7.
I remember hearing about that on that day. Yeah, they were defeated.
That makes sense because 9/11 is the date that on the 11th of September in 1683, the Muslims were dominant in Europe. They just invaded Europe with the largest army, Muslim army to ever invade, possibly the largest army to ever invade. And they were at the gates of Vienna. They were about to conquer the Holy Roman Empire when, of course, the Poles and the Germans and the Hajduks came along and, well, smashed the Turks and under King Jan Sobieski. And so basically September 12th, the Muslims lost control. So Osama bin Laden wanted to roll the clock back to September the 11th. That was a very symbolic date. The date that they were in control, when on September 12th, they lost control. So that is really very strong symbolism. Within the Sharia, there's permissible lying. And in fact, there is, notice here, obligatory lying. Lying in Islam is obligatory. And it is obligatory if this benefits Islam, and of course the Muslim earns reward. And when you don't want to lie outright, blatantly, you are required to give a misleading impression, which is called deceit. War is deceit, I believe it was, Paul.
Yes. And this whole thing, I mean, people have to understand that they start out with unlawful, but they're really saying it's permissible. They'll always show you the unlawful part. They never tell you about it's permissible. It's obligatory. Oh, it's against the law to lie. Yes, it is, but let's hear more. Are you sure it's only unlawful or is it permissible?
It's permissible because these rules, they contradict everything that came before and outweigh everything that came before. It states very bluntly in the. Do you want to go to the next section or?
Yes.
I'll share your screen then.
No. I was asking if you wanted to go down and read that. I think that's real important stuff. People need to understand this is reality. I mean, this is what they're living by. It's scary. They want us to live by these rules. And if we do this, maybe we wake up. I don't know. I hope to God we start to wake up. I'm kind of scared that we are not, to be honest. I just don't see people waking up to this danger. And it's kind of mind-numbing. I think you just went past it.
Oh, we just went past it, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, here. So
Our 8.2, there you go.
Yeah, we want this. When it is permissible to achieve an aim that's important in Islam by lying, but not by telling the truth, it is permissible to lie if the goal is permissible. Not obligatory, just permissible. You should lie if it's And when the purpose of lying is to circumvent, someone is preventing one from doing something permissible. In other words, if people like me and Paul, who are trying to circumvent Islam, and you need to circumvent them, we're trying to prohibit the spread. They're talking about the spread of Islam. If someone is trying to stop the spread of Islam, it is obligatory to lie if the goal is obligatory. It is obligatory to spread Islam. It's obligatory to stop and to circumvent people who are trying to stop the spread of Islam. So lying is obligatory in Islam.
And until your government decides to not trust those people who want to come into your country, we're in trouble, because this is their, you can call it religious belief or political belief. I think it's more of a political belief than anything else.
Yeah.
But this is mandatory. They must abide by the Sharia. They don't have a choice. When they talk about, Clara Lopez over and over says, when Islam means submission, who are they submitting to? She will say it's Sharia over and over again. So if you accept that part and you watch, Muslims who submit to Sharia can force Muslims who don't submit to Sharia to follow it by just being present.
Correct. And it is not unlawful to lie when any of these aims can only be attained through lying. This is the law. This is the Muslim law. This is the religious law of Islam. It is religiously precautionary to employ words that give a misleading impression. Now, this is actually modified by another set of rules. If there is the risk of punishment, if there's the risk of being caught and harm to them, harm is not necessarily physical harm, but embarrassment or shame or any such thing, then they can just use misleading. That's still lying to you. That's still deceiving you. This is blatant lying. So, yeah.
So the next thing I have is something on Darura, now, which kind of, I still have to say, when I first read anything on this concept, Darura, I had to stop and ask all sorts of questions. And I say that because this kind of, again, took my, when you start doing research, you get down a rabbit hole. And I looked at this Oxford Islamic Study. You can read this online, Darura. In legal terminology, a state of necessity on account of which one may omit doing something required by law or may do something illegal. The conditions allow this license and the extent of the license are stipulated variously by different legal scholars. Most legal theorists agree that murder and other gross physical harm is never legitimate. Well, wait a minute. Pay attention. They wrote this thinking that non-Muslims would read this. So, is jihad allowed? Yes. Oh, so they just attempted to deceive us? Absolutely. Absolutely. And, getting this from a Muslim Brotherhood leader in the United States, you sit there, knowing something's wrong with it.
That paragraph itself is misleading. It's actually a lie. Most legal theorists agree that murder, yes, they do agree that murder is never legitimate, but jihad, that's a completely different thing.
That's one of the reasons I put it in here. I wanted them, anybody reading this and could catch that, great. I want them to see that they're being deceived by the very books they're giving to the State Department to understand Islam. According to Darura, a Muslim may break the law, including giving false testimony if a state's necessity exists. So you got somebody in your area who knows someone's going to go and commit an act of jihad. What? Oh, wait, there's, hi, how you doing? Okay, you're like, nothing really happened. I mean, it's not, I don't have to report it. Why? Because there's a state of necessity. You don't have to know anything.
Yeah.
You could be like Sergeant Schultz. I know nothing. Yep. That's
also, it must be noted, Darura doesn't stand alone. It actually gets accompanied by another law or rule called Taysir. It's actually ease and necessity. They go together. So it's like a range. It's like Azima and Rukhsa. You have Taysir. Ease is to scale back a little bit, and necessity is obligatory.
And this is the scare. I mean, when I look at this stuff, why are we, it bothers me. This whole concept bothers me. Patrick Sukadeo, I think he's a great writer. He said the term darura is used by many Islamic scholars to justify Muslim minority adaptation to Western norms in Western states, compliance to Western legal systems, and, quote, loyalty to Western states and governments. Sheikh Tantawi of Al Azhar used this argument to justify Muslims in France obeying the new prohibition of wearing veils in public institutions. Oh, all right. Keep this in mind. When he wrote this, they were following those rules. Right now, they're beating the crap out of principals who refuse to allow admittance into their buildings of people wearing the hijabs. So they've actually had that last year. They were just physically attacking what do they call them? Lead teachers or head teachers, or in Western, at least in America, they would call them principals. What do you call them? Headmasters over there. Yeah, that's the stuff that's been happening since last year. It's kind of
Can I
not
bring up
mind.
the full definition of darura?
Yes.
So this is from the Encyclopedia of Islam. This is the gold standard. This is the academic gold standard of Islam, written by the best scholars in the world, both Western and Muslim. Darura, or idtirar, necessity in law. Darura has a narrow meaning, right? The technical state of necessity where circumstances oblige an individual to do some action forbidden by the Sharia. And it says prohibitions, the legal schools agree that prohibitions of a religious character may be disregarded in case of necessity and danger. This danger is very woolly in terms of definition. It could just be embarrassment or shame, the embarrassment of Islam. So it's not necessarily their life is in danger, but the reputation of Muhammad. No, he was not a X, Y, or Z. And offenses committed under the rule of necessity are excused with no form of punishment. It's considered a practical necessity. Now, there's a calculus involved in determining why and when, and the rules are extremely woolly. Any Muslim can justify it for pretty much any reason at any time. It's really woolly stuff. Any comment there before I switch back to you?
No, this is good stuff. I'm just amazed. Again, we have people who are claiming they are experts on countries and on Islam, who are supposed to be heads of governments, who do something that we would in the United States we would call a State Department. Your ambassadors to other countries they should be knowledgeable on this if they're in an Islamic country, but they're not, and they're not sharing this information. I'm going to skip down to the middle, and it says several examples exist of Muslims lying to non-Muslims, but what is not noticed enough is when they say one thing to non-Muslims, they say the opposite to their Muslim friends. This is the concept of Darura completely accepts this. Now we have Anjem Choudhury, leader of the Al-Mujahideen, was on BBC claiming he condemned the actions of the 9/11 terrorists. Shortly after the event, but not even a full 2 years later, he was exposed as supporting those actors of terror against the United States. A recording was made of Anjem Choudhury calling the hijacker terrorists the Magnificent 19. He also said, "We are here today to talk about the Magnificent 19, those who 2 years ago split the world today into two camps, the camp of Islam and the camp of non-Islam, the kuffar, those who revived again the obligation of jihad worldwide." I mean, this is right on public display. And this is, people are getting this, they're getting the stage doing this stuff. And people willingly accept it. It's scary. It's just kind of scary that we don't wake up to this. I don't understand why. Why people don't wake up. That's one of the things that's kind of mind-numbing. I think I have, I didn't put his name. Okay, this is my friend William Bradford online. He said, I asked him, he's a former DHS official for the United States government. He is the guy that you would go to learn the rules of engagement. And this guy, he's a genius, William Bradford. He said, anytime a person lies, she or he experiences cognitive dissonance because the brain cannot hold two completely contradictory propositions at once without turmoil. Behavioral detection of lies, which is optimally done by experienced interrogators, not by a polygrapher, can reveal certain physical manifestations of cognitive dissonance. Now, I asked him to get this statement. It says, is there something? I mean, is there anything we can really see? I mean, what happens when somebody lies? And I wasn't finding anything that would be able to say, look, we can find this, we can find that. There are some people who have psychological issues. We would call them people who have serious psychological issues. You can never tell they're lying because they just do not. They have such a psychosis that you can't detect it. Now, what if you're raised in a culture? What if you're raised in a culture where lying is such a part of your culture that it's secondary? You don't have the normal contradictory thought in your brain because you've been trained with that way since you've been born. That's where that's what I'm scared about when I think about this. If your whole culture teach this, yeah, sociopaths, yeah.
It also causes mental illness. I mean, if you look at the work by Nikolai Sennels, the Danish psychotherapist who worked with Muslims, Muslim immigrant children, he said there's a massive issue because this cognitive dissonance, he says, causes schizophrenia and other emotional problems within these people. They become broken because on the one hand, they've got to appear to pretend to like their new hosts, like the Danish. On the other hand, they have to hate them and they have to prepare to kill them. Yet on the other hand, they're told that they are supposed to be peaceful and loving. And he says, and this dichotomy causes eventually breakdown of their psyches. He says about 30% of the kids that he sees, the Muslim kids he says, have a serious mental problem.
And that would explain some of it. I hear people making comments about intermarriage, but I look at that this is the underlying thing. Can you keep your sanity if you're holding two completely contradictory propositions? You can't do it without turmoil. So your brain is having an issue. Your mind is basically throwing up. What do you do? I mean, and the truth is your brain can't handle it, so it breaks. And Lloyd, thank you for sharing that. That's pretty much nails it. I'd love to get that quote. I could use that.
Nikolai Sennels. I'll drop the name in the chat, actually, if everyone can just look that up and maybe drop a couple of links. The links to Nikolai Sennels.
I wouldn't say it's bipolar, kids. And this is I think you're more likely to get a psychosis than bipolar.
Yeah.
Bipolar has to do with emotions. This is going to be more with, the sad truth is it's going to be more violent. It's going to be more unpredictable reactions. I say this as a professional who worked in special education for many years. It's not going to be pretty. And when that happens, it's difficult. All right. And I think that was where that was my thing. That's pretty much where I've gone.
Taysir. I'm trying to find something that refers to Taysir and defines it, because I have my own notes, but I'm trying to find an authoritative reference that discusses Taysir. It's actually not coming up very well.
There's just so much. I mean, so here's an example. I'll just give you an example of how all this was used. And this one, let me just get the right page here. Okay. September 12th, 2019. Lars Wijnens wrote this piece, what was supposed to be a horrid example of Islamophobia, and it was published on tonline.de. The article states that the picture below, a picture of a toilet with a whole bunch of shredded Quran pieces around a toilet, was used for toilet paper. The concept of Darura would say that it's okay to lie and not tell that a Muslim committed the act. Did the imams of the mosque know who committed the crime? We may never know. However, they made a statement saying this is Islamophobia. Well, the truth was a Muslim had committed the crime. They learned this a few months later in July. Yet, sorry, they actually in July, they actually came back. I'm sorry. There's another part of this. They actually learned, again, it was reported on September, but they learned that the crime actually happened in July. Oh, and who committed the crime? A Muslim. They were trying to blame it on somebody else.
Just like a Muslim was the one who spread the false rumor that it was a Muslim immigrant that had recently come over on a small boat that had attacked that dance class in Southport in the UK, and where those girls died. And that turns out to be a Muslim that spread that false rumor.
They actually found him.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
They found him. And
I mean, if we look at these things, we've only tackled the hijra, and we talk about lying. And if you put them together, start thinking about that. Who is coming into your country? Are your border patrol people ready to protect your country from people who's going to come up and lie to them? The answer is no.
That would
because
be
our culture doesn't accept it.
You don't want to. I mean, you're saying no to people who are not white who want to come in, get $2,500 a month, an apartment, free healthcare, free cell phone, free calls, free medical, a hotel room for life in a 5-star. What is wrong with
you? I didn't say they're white, Hispanic, whatever. No, I'm saying Muslim. You just can't trust at this point. Why? And if Islam becomes a race, we're in trouble because they don't know that there are many races. So if we accept that they're a race, then they all have to be white because Muhammad was white and he's perfect. So then we run into a whole other problem. I mean, that's just out there. You find Muslims claiming that it's one race. I got to sit there and laugh at all the Muslims who say that. How foolish. I think that's the dumbest excuse I've ever heard.
Yeah, no, but I mean, Islam's a race, of course. Doctors and engineers, doctors and engineers. Yeah, you need them. You need doctors and engineers who can't read, can't write, have no skills, and have to illegally come into your country. You're right, and who cost you hundreds of thousands in welfare support.
And my issue with this is, do you really want someone who's a medical professional who will tell you at the same time that the woman's sperm comes from her breasts? Or do you want the doctor who believes your sperm comes from your backbone? Wait a minute. Again, we're talking about holding contradictory positions.
Science is a spectrum, you see. Like 1 + 1 is on a spectrum of numbers from 0 all the way to 20 billion. You see, it's a spectrum. It's nuts. Of course. I mean, in South Africa, because of equality, the government had to reduce the standards for Black people to pass exams at school and at university because, as you know, if you have a lot of white students who study hard and get 70, 75%, whatever, and pass their exams, get a good grade, get their certificate or degree, that's great. But it's very bad when only 20% of Black people pass and they get bad passes and 80% fail because they didn't study. Because what will happen is they will then burn down the university or burn down the schools, and you'll have thousands of school classes burned, schools disrupted, riots, and then shops will burn and streets will burn and houses will burn. And so you have to reduce the pass mark to 30% or 25% when it comes to mathematics, because mathematics is a white institution and it's hard. So now, and also if you don't promote these engineers who got 30% on the engineering degree, you got 30% here. Actually, you got 19%, but we have to let you pass because we don't want to burn down the university now, do we? So here's your degree. You got, it says A+ on it. That 30% is really, and go and build bridges now. That is literally what has happened in South Africa, with very little exaggeration.
Funny. It's very similar to something that happened locally here. We have a school where we used to give a math test before you. It was a vocational school. You would take this math test before you entered the vocational school. All of a sudden, they stopped giving the math test because
Yeah.
it was racist. And I met several people who went to the school beforehand, and I said, "Did you know they stopped giving that? That's why so many students are failing this school, is because
Yeah.
they stopped giving I mean, your requirement. Okay, what was the majority of that test? Fractions."
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Anthony. Much appreciated. Very grateful. Thank you. Yeah, it's yeah. This is it's insanity that you have people who can barely read and write, who are functionally illiterate in their own language, and now they become CEOs. They become doctors, lawyers. It's DEI. That's all it is.
And I mean, this is where it's going. I mean, you really want people in positions. Sweden just did an incredible article on their problem with. Let me pull that up. I was just going through it this afternoon. Okay, it's from Friatida. It says, according to the most recent survey by Statistics Sweden, around 780,000 people between the ages of 16 and 65 were illiterate in Sweden in 2023, but the number is increasing rapidly. When the new figures come in this winter, analysts expect the figure to have risen above 800,000 before the end of the decade. Over 1 million of Sweden's inhabitants may be illiterate. If the development continues, we risk having a whole generation of young people who in practice become functionally illiterate. This was said by the Minister of Education, Johan Persson, and Minister of Education, Lotta Edel. Friattider states that the ministers do not mention that the main cause of the rampant illiteracy is the ongoing mass immigration of illiterate adults from the third world, which the government is doing nothing about. Instead, the government continues to hand out 100,000 resident permits a year. Being
How much
illiterate in
money are they being
Sweden,
paid?
it doesn't say.
Because I mean, if they're
You
making
just
more money than I get paid in Poland, I can pretend not to read and write and go collect a paycheck on that side.
there you go. And then it says, this is the end. The last statement is this. You'll like this. One migrant said, "I didn't know the alphabet, but now I can read and write," claims a former Arabic illiterate in Sweden. So, really, and if you look back at the history of your countries, one of the conditions for moving to your country most likely was that they were literate. They could read, they could write, they know the language of the country they're coming to. That most likely was a condition of becoming a citizen. The United States is probably the only country that did not have that. And yes, and it is bad. It is, I mean, if you weren't born there, do you have a right to move in? It's a bad idea to let somebody just move in. Oh, I love that one. Having 4 wives and each one getting benefits. That's actually happening. That is
Yeah,
actually happening.
yeah, it's
It's my
scary.
number.
I mean, it just shows that illiteracy pays. And I mean, look at Germany. Germany decided in 2015 it was going to embrace multi-culti. It imported 70% illiterate individuals from North Africa and the Middle East who are illiterate in their own languages, never mind German. Right? These are people who could not read and could not write in their own languages. Germany, as you know, is one of the wealthiest countries in the world, one of the best industrial economies, or rather, I should say, was. Last week, Germany slipped out of the top 20 industrial economies of the world. It is falling, it is deindustrializing, it is becoming poorer because of this. So, illiteracy is growing across the Western Europe, and no one can seem to figure out why, Paul. It's a mystery, it's a complete
Oh,
mystery.
wow. Gee, how many illiterate do you have now? They can't do the job because they can't read the training manual that you set up for the person who could just read the manual. Wow. And they can't follow the picture diagrams because they can't understand the topic. Oh, yeah. If you've
It's a
ever
mystery.
done,
I
yeah.
have no idea why these countries are getting poorer, why they can't find labor while they are deindustrializing, can't find technical people. It's incredible. It's just it's a mystery.
And the information is there. It's easily accessible.
Yeah.
And this is scary stuff. And again, deceit. I mean, choosing to be. This is the one thing I'm talking about illiterate. I am when we came. Usama and I came to this article last time. I says late when I was in France. We met with these imams. They didn't know we knew who they were, which was they were representing the Muslim Brotherhood in France, and they were upset that there were Muslims imams coming from Africa, and they came and they were illiterate. They're like, that's not right. And Muhammad, they're going on and on about how they have to know more about Muhammad, but they were standing on the Sunnah of Muhammad, saying, "Hey, if he can't read, why should we?" And that's pretty much why you have so many illiterate Muslims.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy that when you look through the history of the what was the movement in America, the Black Muslim movement, the
Yeah, we
Nation of
call it
Islam.
the nation NOIs.
Of
We call them
Islam.
NOIs. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I should do a series on that. I actually made some videos in the recent past. I've got some short videos on my channel. You can check out the Nation of Islam. It is insanity. It's just whack job crazy. But they actually hate white people. They taught black people to outright hate white people. They called them white devils, white demons.
Yes.
They were demons, and white people were a genetic experiment made by an Allah. There are 24 Allahs, 24 black men called Allah. Each of them are a super genius, and they take turns being Allah and running the universe. And one of these Allahs, called Yaqub, created in an experiment lasting 200 years. He created various. Well, he made white people. It took him 200 years. He created white people, and these white people have a mandate to run the world for 6,000 years, and that mandate ended in 1914, although it was extended to 1984 or something like that. And after that, black people have to regain the supremacy of the world. Now, these are crazy ideas, but people believe them. They act on them. And I've spoken with people here in Poland, for instance, and they find it strange when I tell them, look, black people hate you. Now, maybe not every single one, but that's what they're taught to do. This is considered normal. There's a different value system at play here. And naivety, unfortunately, rules the day, because you want to trust, you want to like, but we've also forgotten what enemies are. We don't know what enemies are. And this was literally part of the plan of the Muslim Brotherhood, to have people be unable to recognize threats and be unable to respond to them, because they cannot identify the difference between a friend and an enemy.
So in this country, in the United States, the Muslim Brotherhood, the Sunnis, are taking the NOI under their umbrella, and they're trying to bring them into Sunni Islam. So the Muslim Brotherhood has adopted the umbrella organization has adopted them. They are working to bring them into Sunni Islam. I don't know how effective it is, but the Muslim Brotherhood now speaks for Sunni Islam, and that's kind of, now speaks for NOIs, which is kind of weird to see that
Right.
when you see that happening. I mean,
Yeah.
one group will definitely kill the other if they have a choice.
Yeah. No, I mean, the NOI is by no means orthodox. I mean, these guys are off the wall crazy.
I mean, they have their own prophets, so that's enough reason for Sunnis to kill them.
Yeah, I wonder. It's going on. It's later my time, obviously, because of our time difference. Can we? I wrote this paper for CSPI. That's the Bill Warner Group, some time ago. And can I just finish with 2 pages of this? Would it be okay to wind down and we pick it up again next week?
Good. Yes.
I'd love to have you back on next week. And this is an interesting discussion. I mean, what you raise these are serious issues that affect our cultures today, that are dominant in the news. I mean, these are real problems. And I think it's important that we highlight these problems and the sources, where they come from, what the thinking is that drives them. So this is a paper that I wrote. This is available in my archive as well. I think it's called the Muslim Brotherhood Report. Just search for my name in my archive. So, civilization jihad, the target, America. If you don't live in America, they're also targeting you. So don't feel left out. August 2004, the top Muslim Brotherhood operative Ismail al-Barasi and his wife were pulled over when a cop observed her videotaping the structural supports of the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. There are obviously photographers who just love taking pictures of structural supports that hold bridges up, right, Paul?
And she was wearing a full burqa.
Yeah. And I mean, there's no reason. I mean, who doesn't stop their car on a bridge and then film the structural supports holding the bridge up? I mean, I do that all the time, don't you, Paul?
Not me. I'm not stopping on a bridge. There's no time
Well,
to
I mean,
stop.
I can't think of a good reason. I mean, I'd have to check. Mr. Rock has become a member. Thank you very much for that. Really appreciate it. And thanks again for the donation earlier as well. Yeah, no. So an ID check established he was wanted in connection with Hamas fundraising in Chicago. The FBI executed a search warrant of his home in the suburbs of Washington, D.C. They discovered a hidden room, a basement, containing the archives of the Muslim Brotherhood in America. 80 boxes of documents were recovered. This was when the FBI was still not corrupt. A number of these documents became publicly available. They were introduced into evidence in the Holy Land Foundation trial, the largest terror funding trial in U.S. history. And this was a financing conspiracy. And the HLF and 5 defendants had given $12.4 million to Hamas for its goal of creating an Islamic Palestinian state by eliminating the state of Israel through violent jihad. So the Holy Land Foundation is evident from its logo that it's a violent organization. A map of Palestine minus Israel with hands holding a mosque over it. Now, the defense they did not contest the authenticity of the documents, and they found this one, the Brotherhood's 1991 Strategic Plan for Operations in the United States, called an Explanatory Memorandum of the General Strategic Goals of the Group. And it's written by a very senior member, and it says here, the role of the Muslim Brotherhood in America is to destroy America. The process of settlement is a civilization jihad process, with all that the word means. They mean jihad. The Muslim Brotherhood, the Ikhwan, must understand that their work in America is a kind of grand jihad in eliminating and destroying the Western civilization from within, sabotaging its miserable house by their own hands and the hands of the believers, so that it is eliminated and Allah's religion is made victorious over all other religions. Your thoughts there, Paul?
So yeah, this is when you actually go back and you start looking at this passage, you actually discover this is from the Quran. And I used to read this section, this whole piece, every show, and
Yeah.
I almost think we need to go. I might need to go back to that because we need to start thinking. Their goal here is not pretty. I wish people could understand. What was also funny is when this is written, there. I want to point out they said the Ikhwan, the Brotherhood, must understand that their work in America, and this was written. They say North America. They didn't realize Mexico was part of North America when they wrote this.
Yeah. Tony says stopping on a bridge is one of the things you learn not to do while studying driving law. Well, I mean, maybe they were just practicing. Maybe it was photography. Maybe they weren't looking where to place the explosive devices on the struts, right, to bring the bridge down. It probably wasn't that. Don't think like that. Don't think like that. Without this level of understanding, we are not up to this challenge and have not prepared ourselves for jihad yet. So you must prepare for jihad by understanding that you need to destroy America. You must eliminate it, according to this document. It is a Muslim's destiny to perform jihad and work wherever he is and wherever he lands until the final hour comes. And there is no escape from that destiny. Okay? And it says here, their strategy for destroying Western civilization is described in an undated document entitled The Phases of the World Underground Movement Plan. It's 5 phases for infiltration and an American coup. The Muslim Brotherhood recognized that they are in phase 4 of this plan since at least 2017. Phase 5 is a violent coup, and the phases with their own assessment are as follows. Phase 1, a discreet and secret establishment of elite leadership. This phase
Now
has
they,
been
they,
implemented. Yes?
yeah, they actually said it was finished when they got there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. Phase 2, a gradual appearance on the public scene and exercising and utilizing public activities It has greatly succeeded in implementing this stage. It has also succeeded in achieving a great deal of its important goals, such as infiltrating sectors of the government, gaining religious institutions and embracing senior scholars, that's your universities and schools, gaining public support and sympathy, and establishing a shadow government, a secret government within the US government.
That was achieved under Barack Obama by one of the things he did was he appointed many positions as presidential appointments, and they were taken away from the Senate approval, which is quite mind-numbing.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, let me just see if I can do this a little better. Just fit it a bit more. There we go.
There you
Phase
go.
escalation. Prior to conflict and confrontation, utilize mass media. Currently in progress. Their intent is conflict and confrontation. Phase 4, open public confrontation with the government, exercising political pressure. That's your Hamas rallies today. It is aggressively implementing the above mentioned approach. Training on the use of weapons domestically and overseas in anticipation of 0 hour. It has noticeable activities in this regard. Your thoughts, Paul?
There are several camps in the United States. There's one close to me where you can go. I will say in the United States, Christians have camps where they can go and practice and they can learn how to use a gun, but it's not the same. You're not using human targets. That is what is being testified to of those who see the camps. I have a problem with that when you're talking about taking kids to learn how to fire a gun. That's what they're doing. It's not. Yeah, you'll hear about all different camps around the United States. They exist.
No,
They are.
even South Africa, I
They
know
do
about
exist.
those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cognitive Dissident and others. I'm using a new bot. I switched to a new bot, and I've had it set to the minimum defaults on everything, and I have to tune the bot even more. I'm going to have to pull it back, or I've already disabled some of its features, and I will either tune or disable other features. It's a little overzealous, so I apologize. So it's only my second time using it, so it took me a while to tune my previous bot as well. So sorry for that. J. Corman Kane says, it sounds like a plan worked out by a Bond villain. It would be hilarious if it wasn't real and happening before our eyes. And that's
Yes.
true. And the last part is phase 5, seizing power to establish the Islamic nation under which all parties and Islamic groups are united. That's why they want to unite with the NOI. And they have established the secret leadership cadre. So that's it. It's a real document. These are real people with billions of dollars.
So that cadre that we're talking about is called MPAC in the United States. It's the Muslim Brotherhood umbrella of all the Muslim organizations in the United States. And that is when you look at Nihad Awad, who is in charge of this organization, yeah, the head of Hamas in America is the head of MPAC.
Crazy. And also, yeah, if you read the Charter of Hamas, it states that the Hamas is the wing of the Muslim Brotherhood in Palestine.
Yes, it's just a chapter. It's all it is.
Innocent. I mean, geez, it's just they just want to film bridge supports. Who doesn't want to take pictures of bridge supports, Paul? Don't you take pictures of building substructures and under pillars and bridge supports all the time?
I can get where it may be of interest to an architectural student, but I don't understand that purpose. I mean, it was reason enough for them to do Operation Green Quest and to really do an in-depth look at this. When you said stage 2, by the way, my first book was called Stage 2: Infiltrate American Colleges. And when I got into this, that's the only place I was looking. I had no idea where it was going. I have no idea I'd be where I am today and doing what I'm doing. I was just trying to address the horrible attack on colleges. I had no idea that I'd be here doing this today.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're a gold mine of information. Your audio disappeared there for a moment. Yeah. So shall we call it a night here and then pick it up again
Sounds
next
good.
week? Would you be okay with that?
Yeah, that's okay. I should be back. I'll be traveling down to Southern Evangelical Seminary. Hopefully, going to sell some books down there. We have a Christian apologetics event down there this week.
Yeah. No, good luck with that. So guys, please support Paul. His book link should be in the description. And yeah, please go to Amazon, get his books, and use the information. And yeah, and thank you for all those who supported the channel. And thanks again, Paul, for coming on. It's really an important topic. It's incredibly topical today. It's happening now in front of our eyes. And yeah, so final word to you. And thank you all very much.
God bless.
Yeah. God bless everyone. Take care and good night.